Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You sent over some really fascinating sources this time. We're looking at this, well, this wild intersection of blockchain and, like, the regular internet.
Yeah, it's a space where, honestly, a lot of people thought things would stay separate forever almost. But what we're seeing now is potentially the start of a real integration. ENS, the big digital identity layer for Web3, isn't just running alongside the internet anymore.
Just trying to plug right in.
Exactly, into the core backbone.
Okay, so for everyone listening, let's set the stage. We're talking about the collaboration between the Ethereum name service, that's ENS, and something called the DOMA protocol. Now, ENS, you probably know it. It's been around since, what, 2017?
Yep, that's right.
Turning those long, messy crypto wallet addresses into simple names, like alice.eth or something easy to remember. Phone book for Web3, basically.
The classic analogy. But the problem historically has always been that .eth felt a bit like its own island. If you weren't already in crypto using .eth, you were kind of outside looking in.
Right, that walled garden issue. So the big challenge, the question everyone's asking is, how do you bridge that? How do you connect the decentralized sovereign nature of ENS to the, let's face it, pretty centralized global domain name system?
And critically, how do you do it without breaking what makes ENS special, without sacrificing that decentralization?
And that's where this fusion, as you called it, comes in, creating this kind of hybrid identity layer.
That's the idea.
Okay, so let's really unpack this. It sounds like a massive undertaking. Our mission today, for you listening, is really threefold. First, understand the tech sincerity. How do you actually tokenize a regular Web2 domain, a .com?
The nuts and bolts of it.
Second, what does this mean for identity? How does it create this unified multi-chain digital ID? And third, and this sounds pretty ambitious, how does all this groundwork prepare ENS for this big showdown maybe at ICANN in 2026?
Yeah, the gTLD round is less of a technical discussion there and more strategic, almost geopolitical, you could say. It's about asserting a decentralized model onto the global stage.
A massive strategic play. Okay, let's start with the enabler. DOMA protocol, founded by the D3 Global team, you said.
Correct. And their whole purpose, their function, is pretty revolutionary. They let people who already own domains, or the registrars who manage them, take those standard names, your .com, .org, .ai, whatever.
Your everyday domain names.
Exactly. And bring them onto the blockchain, tokenize them.
Okay, what's the mechanism? Because that sounds like the magic trick here.
It kind of is. So they take that domain, say example.com, and they mint it as an ERC 721 NFT. That's the standard for unique digital assets on Ethereum and compatible chains.
So my website address suddenly becomes a collectible, a transferable asset.
More than a collectible. It becomes a programmable, ownable piece of digital property on the blockchain. It's fully transferable. You can trade it. You can use it in smart contracts. It's, like you said earlier, a full Web3 glow up for that domain.
Wow. Okay. And this isn't just theoretical, right? You mentioned registrars.
Oh, yeah, this is moving. The sources point to major players already equipped or preparing for this. Names like GoDaddy, InternetX. These are big domain registrars.
GoDaddy.
Yeah.
Seriously. Okay. That adds weight. And the scale. You mentioned InternetX.
Yeah, the numbers there are pretty staggering. Just with InternetX as a partner, we're talking about a pool of potentially 22 million domains that could theoretically be tokenized through the system.
22 million. Compare that to the number of .eth names currently registered.
Yeah.
It's a completely different order of magnitude.
Exactly. It blows the potential user base wide open. And that's why people like Nick Johnson, the lead dev at ENS, are careful with their words. He apparently called it fusing, not just bridging.
Fusing, okay.
Yeah. And the implication for developers is clear. Stop thinking just .eth. You need to build your apps, your validators, to handle any domain that's been tokenized this way. A full domain validator.
Okay, but let me push back slightly here. If GoDaddy, a very centralized company, is involved in minting the NFT, doesn't that create a weak link? Like, couldn't they just, I don't know, mess with the underlying DNS record later and break the connection? Where's the real decentralization guarantee?
That's a super important question, and it gets to the core of the design. So yes, the registrar initially controls the traditional DNS record of the thing that points your browser to the website.
Right.
But the ownership of the tokenized asset, the NFT, is controlled by the user's private key on the blockchain. The DOMA process essentially creates a smart contract link. Once that NFT exists, its ownership and transferability are governed purely by blockchain rules.
Okay, so the NFT becomes this sort of The primary source of truth for the Web3 aspects of the domain. Ownership, linking to wallets, that stuff.
Precisely. The registrar still handles the basic Web2 routing, but the asset itself, the NFT representing the domain's enhanced capabilities, is sovereign. Its control lives on-chain, independent of the registrar after minting.
That makes more sense. The token is the immutable part. Okay, so let's walk through the resolution. I have example.com. It's tokenized via DOMA. What happens next? How does it become part of ENS?
So once minted, that NFT essentially gets plugged into the existing ENS resolution system. There's a smart contract, the ENS resolver.
Okay, yeah, the resolver contract.
Right. And when a Web3 application, like a crypto wallet, looks up example.com, the resolver is set up to prioritize looking for the associated on-chain data linked to that NFT first.
Before it looks at the old DNS stuff.
Generally, yes, for Web3 functions. The NFT itself contains the pointers to your ENS profile, your wallet address for payments, your chosen NFT avatar, maybe your social links, all that metadata. It overrides, or rather augments, the traditional DNS info.
So the blockchain record takes precedence for these new functions. That's clever, and that explains something else in the sources why they specifically avoided relying on DNS SEC, right?
Exactly. DNS-SE is the traditional system for adding security to DNS lookups. But it's complex, it relies on a chain of trust going back to, well, centralized authority.
More potential points of failure or control.
Got it. By using the NFT on the blockchain as the ultimate source of truth for the Web3 identity layer, ENS keeps things decentralized. The control stays with the smart contract and the owner's key, not tied up in some external certificate hierarchy. It keeps that soul of decentralization intact.
Okay, sovereignty maintained, and once you have that, you mentioned multi-chain. This isn't just stuck on Ethereum mainnet.
Not at all. That's another huge benefit. The architecture is designed so this unified identity, your tokenized.com or whatever, can resolve across different blockchains.
So I can use my brand.com to receive payments on Polygon, maybe? Or link it to assets on Bitcoin?
That's the vision. Resolve on Polygon for cheaper transactions, maybe interact with Bitcoin layer stuff, Solana, you name it. It makes the identity portable across the crypto ecosystem. It just drastically simplifies things for the user.
Oh, absolutely. The user experience side of this feels huge. I mean, think about it. No more telling people your 0x address. You just say, send it to mycompany.com.
Right. And if you own both Vitalik.f and Vitalik.com and they're linked through this, they effectively become one unified presence. Update your bio in one place, it reflects everywhere. Send crypto to the .com, it lands in the right wallet.
That's the dream, isn't it? Just use what your, the domain name, but have it supercharged with all this crypto stuff under the hood.
Simplicity is often the killer app, right? And this level of usability, this ease of onboarding, using familiar names, that's absolutely crucial for what comes next. It sets the stage for the bigger strategic game.
Which takes us neatly into Section 3, the ICANN 2026 strategy. We're shifting gears here from the tech details to global internet governance.
Yeah, this is where ENS tries to go from being a Web3 niche thing to potentially becoming a core part of the global internet's naming infrastructure. ICANN, the Internet Corporation for assigned names and numbers, they're the ones who control the domain name system globally.
The gatekeepers of .com, .org, etc.
Pretty much. And every few years, they open applications for new generic top-level domains, or gTLDs. Think .app or .xyz. Those came out of previous ICANN rounds. 2026 is the next big one.
And getting involved isn't cheap. The sources called it a $185,000 per TLD bloodbath. Just the application fee.
Yeah, it's a massive financial commitment just to apply to run a TLD registry. And there's no guarantee of success. But ENS is planning to go for it.
Using its own funds?
Yep. Funded directly by the ENS DAO Treasury. The plan is to apply for control of two TLDs, .f and .ens.
Okay, applying for .f makes sense. Trying to make it official globally. YVNs as well.
Probably strategic redundancy, branding, maybe offering different feature sets or governance models under each. The key thing isn't just owning the domain name. It's about ENS, the DAO, potentially running the global registry for these names, a decentralized organization operating a core piece of internet infrastructure.
That sounds potentially disruptive to ICANN's usual way of doing things. Which brings up the core challenge, that decentralization mandate. How does the DAO, governed by token holders and smart contracts, satisfy a traditional regulator like ICANN?
Very carefully. It requires this really delicate balancing act. The absolute non-negotiable principle for ENS is that the blockchain remains the ultimate source of truth.
Okay. What does that mean in practice?
It means all the critical stuff: who owns what name, how it can be transferred, what wallet it points to, the governance decisions about the registry itself. All that has to live immutably on-chain, controlled by the DAO, not by ICANN.
So what does the ICANN layer do then in this model, if the blockchain is the truth?
The plan is for the traditional DNS system, the part ICANN oversees, to act essentially as a read-only mirror or proxy. It would basically just query the blockchain and reflect the state of the ENS records for compatibility with older internet systems.
So ICANN system can see that Alice.eth exists and maybe where it points, but it couldn't change or revoke Alice's ownership.
Exactly. The ICANN layer confirms existence and provides basic resolution, but it has no power to interfere with the actual ownership or control, which stays on the sovereign blockchain layer. It's a technical and political firewall. ICANN reads the truth. It doesn't dictate it.
That's a fascinating approach. And this ties back to DOMA again, doesn't it? Their work isn't just technical, it's also about building bridges with the establishment.
Absolutely. It's strategic alignment. DOMA folks have been actively going to ICANN meetings, like ICANN 84, demoing these Web3-ready domains. They're showing the traditional domain industry, the registrars and registries, that this crypto integration can be done in a way that's stable, secure, and potentially even compliant with existing policies.
So they're kind of paving the way, showing ICANN that ENS isn't some rogue element trying to burn everything down, but a potential collaborator bringing new tech.
Precisely. It frames ENS as an innovator working within the broader ecosystem, even as it aims to fundamentally shift control towards decentralization. This soft power diplomacy could be really important when those $185,000 applications land on ICANN's desk.
Okay, well, so let's quickly recap the journey we've taken here. We started with the core tech. DOMA protocol enabling the tokenization of traditional DNS names into ERC-721 NFTs.
Yep, turning .com into a sovereign blockchain asset.
Then we saw how this creates a unified digital identity, multi-chain, easier to use, mapping that familiar domain name to your whole Web3 profile, all while keeping control decentralized via the blockchain.
Cutting down complexity, enhancing usability, crucial steps.
And finally, we looked at the big strategic play. The DAO-funded push into the ICANN 2026 gTLD round, aiming to secure .eth and .ens globally, using the blockchain as the source of truth and the traditional DNS as just a read-only layer.
It's a multi-pronged strategy aiming for nothing less than integrating decentralized identity into the fabric of the global internet. And think about the value. Unlock all those existing Web 2 domains, suddenly gaining crypto superpowers.
It really could shift where the value lies in digital real estate. So here's the final thought for you to chew on. If ENS pulls this off, if a DAO successfully operates a global TLD under the ICANN umbrella but maintains blockchain sovereignty, what does that do to ICANN? How does that tension resolve between legacy governance and this new, unstoppable, smart contract-based entity? What does the future of internet governance look like then?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe the $185,000 question plus operating costs. A fascinating future to watch unfold.